On October 3rd, 2016, I switched from my iPhone 5 to the LG G5. Now, as a lifelong iPhone and iPod Touch user, I found that the change was actually surprisingly easy. Now, despite its disappointing launch, I believe that this phone is a very good one, and does not deserve the flack that certain people have given it. So, let's start with the specs. As with most 2016 flagships, it has the Snapdragon 820 CPU, paired with the Adreno 530 GPU, has 4 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of expandable storage via a micro SD card slot. Now it's expandable up to 2 terabytes theoretically, but only up to 256 megabytes, or gigabytes practically, because that's all we really have available. It has a 5.3-inch Quad HD LCD IPS display. Its main camera is 16 megapixels with optical image stabilization, but it also has a second rear camera, which is 8 megapixels with a wide-angle lens. Unfortunately, no optical image stabilization. The front-facing camera is another 8 megapixel. Again, no optical image, no OIS. It has USB Type-C for charging, supporting Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0, 802.11 AC Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 4.2, a 3.5mm headphone jack on the top, an IR blaster, FM radio, NFC, a rear-mounted fingerprint scanner, and a 2800 mAh removable battery. Now, that brings me to my first point. Probably the most interesting feature that I noticed was the removable battery. Now, Android, personally for me, as an outside viewer, used to mean removable batteries and expandable storage, complete freedom. Now, at the time, I had just gotten my iPhone 5, and when my friend showed me his Samsung Galaxy S5, I was blown away. It was an incredible phone, and I found the freedom of customization very appealing. Now, when I finally made the decision to switch over to Android at the beginning of this year, I found that there were very few phones that still had removable batteries and shipped with Android 5.0 Lollipop or higher. And all the ones that weren't just super cheap, crappy budget ones like the Galaxy J2, if I wanted an actual decent phone with removable battery, I had to go with LG. Some of you viewers may be wondering, why do I even need a removable battery? Well, let me tell you, I barely charge this phone. Now, when I do charge, it is very nice to have that USB Type-C, but I rarely do. I'm usually using the phone with one battery and having the other battery charging separately. And when this one's low, I just swap them out, super easy and convenient. The design of the G5 is very nice to look at, offering an appealing alternative to a more traditional look either from Apple iPhones or Samsung Galaxy. This is LG's first phone with a metal unibody, but it is coated in a thick plastic primer, so the phone doesn't really feel like metal. Now personally, I don't care. I would even be fine with a plastic phone. But it still feels, in my hand, like metal. I mean, yes, it doesn't have the cold metal feel, but still, it has the same heft that a metal phone would have. And it still beats glass, in my opinion, which just does not feel nice. And if you put a case on it, which I actually have a case on mine, so the plasticky feel doesn't even bother me anyways, glass just does not look nice with a case. That contrast between the shiny glass and the matte case, bugs me. Now back to the back. The design itself with the humps, the power button, is very reminiscent of the Nexus 5X, which also was manufactured by LG. So it's very obvious that the design was largely inspired by the 5X. Continuing with the design and again the placement of buttons and whatnot, I really like the placement of the buttons on this phone. I'm left-handed, so I can easily reach the volume rocker, and having the power button and fingerprint scanner on the back just make sense to me. Because I'm holding the phone like this, fingerprint scanner, easy, press the power button and turn it off. No problem. It is very convenient. Now a lot of you people may be complaining about, well, what if you want to use it on a desk and you don't want to pick it up? A lot of people might say, oh, that's just being lazy, just pick it up. But no. You have to appeal to you guys too. Just double tap on the screen to wake it up, put in your password, and when you're done, double tap the status bar and it turns off. I didn't need to pick it up. But usually it is more comfortable to use in your hand anyway, so I don't see why you would want to leave it on the table unless you're just checking notifications, in which case just double tap the screen to turn it on or off. easy. Speaking of the screen, it is perfect for me. 5.3 inches is kind of the sweet spot for me between usability in one or two hands and also having nice screen real estate. And I personally prefer LCD over AMOLED, the latter being oversaturated. Now I know it saves battery because the pixels can be completely off, but it just does not look the same as an IPS LCD, which is, in my opinion, the nicest looking screen right now. Now, the screen size and very high resolution makes it perfect for virtual reality with Google Cardboard. You can check out my video about Google Cardboard, or hopefully soon with the support of Google Daydream. When this phone gets support for Google Daydream, you can bet I will make a video about that, so stay subscribed to see that. Now, the cameras are great. The wide angle is very useful for getting group photos or getting nice scenery. Here are some examples from both cameras. Now, the only problem with these cameras would be low light, but I think that's more of a software issue. Now, hear me out here. So here's some examples of low light pictures normally. Notice how it's kind of blurry, it's not quite sharp, because what the software does is it will slow down the shutter speed to compensate for lack of exposure from the low light. Now, a few seconds in manual mode, and I get some much nicer images. What I did is I sped up the shutter speed a bit, and I turned the eye. So, yes, it gets grainy, but that's something you can expect from a phone camera. It's a phone camera. And it ends up looking a lot better. So, LG, please fix that. With a software update, it should make the pictures look a lot better. Now, it's still obviously not going to be the same as the S7 or the Pixel or the iPhone 7, but it's still very nice. And you still do get that wide angle, which is very useful. And the wide angle, you're mostly going to be using it outdoors anyways, where there's sufficient lighting. For the selfie camera, it's perfectly adequate for selfie takers. Here are a few examples. On the bottom, we have the Type-C port for charging, and again, Type-C is the future of all ports, so get used to having it on everything. And we also have the speaker, which is, I mean, it's not a bad speaker, but audiophiles are definitely not going to want to use it. Now, most people these days use the headphone jack and headphones, in-ear headphones for listening to music or watching videos anyways, so that's not a problem. But if you are going to listen through the speakers, expect to be a little disappointed. It suffers horribly from cup syndrome. Like, it's just better just don't even put anything near the speaker to avoid cup syndrome. And it's not horrible. I can still hear things pretty clearly, but it does get distorted due to it. Now, I think especially because there's no physical home button, LG could easily get away with having stereo speakers. Another design feature they should borrow from the Nexus 5X. Overall, the experience of the phone is great. It's very comfortable to use, the software is great, but I'm not going to get into too much of that because A, Android is extremely customizable, and B, in literally any day now, I will be getting the Nougat update, which changes the features that aren't customizable, like the notifications menu. But and I don't think I can really comment on the software too much, seeing as this is my first Android, but overall, this is a great phone. If you want a removable battery, expandable storage, no physical home button because those can fail and those can cause problems and they're less customizable than a virtual home button, if that's what you're looking for, then the G5 is a great phone. Notice I didn't mention the modularity feature of the phone. That's because, ignore that. The original intention for the phone was for it to be modular. The bottom charging port could come off, as with the removable battery, and be replaced with modules such as a camera grip or a hi-fi DAC. But this was quickly abandoned due to poor sales, because it just felt gimmicky. So now, don't consider the entire phone just discontinued. It's still a good phone if you just consider it to be a removable battery. And if you do want a phone with a removable battery, the G5 is a great choice. And I give it my best recommendation with a 10 out of 10.